Dr. Johnson, the evidence of spiritual transformation and restoration are overwhelming. John and I have seen it. We've witnessed it at both Angola and at Darrington. What is the public, what is the secular world going to say when they see the overwhelming evidence of what the gospel does? You must have heard something about that already.
Well, we have. A lot of states have sent people to Texas and to Louisiana. They're hearing things. We expect that this will all take off even more so in the fall when the book actually comes out.
Correct.
We think that's going to generate a lot of attention, and we want to be prepared for that attention that's going to come from correctional leaders and politicians and others. But we fully expect that there will be candidates running for elected office that will also want to know how is this working, how can we implement this in our state. And in fact, a lot of states are already launching seminaries with very little evidence, but they're launching them anyway. And so, when they do call, we try to say, don't rush, because you want to make sure you have everything in place that you need for this to be a success. And so that's another reason why we felt like it was important to get a book out as quick as we can that would be useful to people that are thinking about, starting a Bible college near them.
Yeah, Pastor Kane and I had just came back from Phoenix, where we were with our church body at a conference called Best Practices, and we had the opportunity to talk about the power of one. When one person, by the grace of God, takes an issue like the gospel and brings it into a place of the worst of the worst. Our people in our church body were amazed just to hear that this is happening. And so I just want to say thank you. You have been called by God for an incredible process of what we call, or what you call, identity transformation. Tell us, what does this look like after the fall of this year?
Pardon? What was that last thing you said there?
What does this look like for you?
Well, we believe there's a national movement that's taking place.
Yeah.
And we hope that as academics, we consider ourselves kind of independent observers of what's happening, and we hope that we can, provide people with objective information about next steps and how do you move forward. So, for example, in Angola, Louisiana, they have these inmate congregations.
Right.
Well, that's Louisiana. Most states are not going to allow that. They may have a Bible college, but they won't allow congregations that are inmate-led because they have a problem with inmates, quote-unquote, being in authority positions over other inmates, even though if you interview these inmate ministers, they would say that it's not about authority, it's about servant leadership. And what we see in Angola is what we see in Darrington, and Darrington has a different model. Darrington trains these people through the Bible college, and then they send them out to other prisons in the state of Texas to be field ministers. And this is all new. Last May, they graduated their first class and sent these men out to prisons across the state of Texas, and we're now going out and meeting these people in the field. We were with them last week, in fact, in 3 maximum security prisons. And the work that they're doing is mind-boggling. We don't know how they find the energy to do what they're doing, but we talked to 2 inmates in one prison alone who had trained already over 250 prisoners. And that's just one of many different kinds of ministry that they're providing. So you talk about the power of one to have an effect. And so then the question becomes, what happens this coming May when 40 or approximately 40 more men graduate from Bible college there in Darrington, and they then are sent out? So what we are hoping to do is to continue to study the ministers as they go throughout the state of Texas in other prisons and minister, and we also want to study the inmates that are the recipients of this ministry. How are they affected? So not just the field ministers, but how about all these men that are being ministered to by these ministers? How are they affected? And I can just tell you from spending some time out in the field, we were overwhelmed with the amount of work that they have done, and the chaplains are singing their praises because if you're a chaplain and you have 4,000 prisoners, it becomes very difficult to be a minister or a shepherd to that many men, and you really wind up being, what many of them tell us is that they're administrators. They have so much paperwork to do, they don't have the time to get to ministry when you're trying to meet the needs of that many different people because they have come from different religious backgrounds. And now you have these field ministers that have come into the prison, and they're providing ministry. And so as many chaplains are telling us, this is a godsend that these people have been trained, and now they're ready to go out and serve others. And, I'll shut up here in just a second, but one of the chapters in our book coming out has a title something like this, and because many of these guys are serving life, by the way, especially in Angola. There is no hope for parole there. And so we have one chapter called Serving Life by Dying to Self. And what you see with these guys is they're basically serving others, and in that process of serving others, this identity transformation is taking place. It's a beautiful thing to see. And it's about self-sacrifice. That's why we think it's interesting. You have so many of these programs in prisons that are designed to help offenders, and what do they call them? They call them self-help programs. What we're finding is it's not about self-help. It's about giving your life away, and this is all scriptural. You give your life away, and you find your life. And that's what these guys are doing. Guys who have no hope of ever being released, but what we find when we survey them is they're full of hope, and they're healthy emotionally and otherwise. We see a change in their character and their virtues. These are the kinds of things that we're measuring in our surveys. And if they're regular participants in the Bible college and they're practicing their faith, these kinds of things begin to emerge, and we think it's important, and we think it's one of the things that the country needs to take a serious look at. As liberals and conservatives both scratch their heads for solutions, we think this is one that really needs to be listened to by many.